Yo, what is going on, everyone? My name is Nick, or the Notorious Fantasy, and in today's video, we're going to be talking about my top waiver wire ads for week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. Inside today's video, I'm going to be talking about some running backs, wide receivers, as well as tight ends that I believe you guys should add to your roster before week number 1 of the 2021 fantasy football season. But before we get on into the in-depth look into the running backs, wide receivers, and tight ends that are available on your waiver wire right now, I would like to ask you, if you are new to the channel and you do end up enjoying today's video, to please make sure that you hit that subscribe button down below. Not only is it free, I put out content every single day to help you guys win your 2021 fantasy football championship. Now, while you're down there, whether you are new to the channel or not, please make sure you hit that like button down below to help boost this video up the algorithm so that more beautiful people like yourself can see today's video. I'd also like to give you guys a quick word from my friends and my sponsor over at Thrive Fantasy. Thrive Fantasy is a daily fantasy sports and esports app for player props. With Thrive, you can eliminate the countless hours of research and focus only on the top tier athletes that have the biggest impacts on the game. Choose 10 out of the 20 available player props to build your lineup. Each prop is assigned a fantasy value for both the over and the under based upon how likely it is to hit. Hit the most props and rack up the most amount of points to win your share of the prize pool. Thrive's $100,000 guaranteed contest is just $20 to enter, and first place takes home $20,000. Make sure that you guys sign up and use promo code Notorious when you sign up today, and you will receive a 100% instant first deposit match up to $100. Download the Thrive Fantasy app on the App Store or the Play Store, or by visiting their website www.thrivefantasy.com. Sign up and prop up today. And we are back, so let's begin with the first position of today's waiver wire video. That is the running back position. The first running back to be adding off the waiver wire right now is running back of the Washington football team, J.D. McKissic, going up against the LA Chargers in week number 1 with a 37% ownership percentage on Yahoo.com. Now, J.D. McKissic is a running back that I was pretty heavily invested in later on in the fantasy football draft season. I've been talking him up for a while now because I believe that Antonio Gibson isn't going to be that true workhorse running back. Now, there was a lot of talk out of training camp that Kyle Allen, the third string quarterback of the Washington football team, said that, hey, Antonio Gibson is a lot like Christian McCaffrey. He's going to have a Christian McCaffrey role in this offense. And then the team goes out and cuts Peyton Barber, and people are like, holy shit, it's finally going to be time for Antonio Gibson to be a full-on workhorse running back like Christian McCaffrey. He is going to get so many receptions this season. But then when you go ahead and look back to what happened last season, J.D. McKissic was heavily involved on third down for the Washington football team, having over 110 targets on the season with 80 receptions. And that is just not going to go away. Now, maybe it ends up getting reduced slightly and Antonio Gibson gets an uptick in targets. But what happens if it doesn't? What happens if Riverboat Ron Rivera continues to use J.D. McKissic how he did last year? If that is the case, then J.D. McKissic was a steal in drafts, basically going in the 12th, 13th, 14th, or 15th round of drafts, and he's a steal right now off the waiver wire that you can get for free. He's available in a majority of leagues right now, and while I'm not necessarily clamoring to start in week 1 up against the LA Chargers, there are certainly worse options on the waiver wire. Next up, at number 2, we have Tyson Williams of the Baltimore Ravens going up against the Las Vegas Raiders, week number 1 in Las Vegas. 27% rostered right now on Yahoo.com. Now, Williams appears to be the second string running back in Baltimore. While I honestly thought it was going to be Justice Hill, he is out right now in week number 1 of practice with undisclosed reasons, which doesn't sound great. Normally, it's like, hey, this guy has a hamstring injury. Hey, he's dealing with a finger sprain. He's dealing with this. He's dealing with that. An uncertain injury, an undisclosed injury, to me, seems pretty scary. With how much the Baltimore Ravens look to run the ball in the past and how much I believe they're going to look to run the ball in 2021, it should be a no-brainer to add Williams to your roster. While he may not have very much value unless there's an injury to Gus Edwards ahead of him, I'm not even sure if that's going to be the case, because we saw last year when Dobbins became the lead back later on in the season after they started kind of just sitting Mark Ingram, Gus Edwards still had a role in this offense, so I think Williams will have enough of a role in this offense that you could play him in deeper leagues in your flex spot. But unless there was an injury to Gus Edwards, I'm not too sure how excited you're going to be playing Tyson Williams week in, week out. After this, we got Latavius Murray, running back of the New Orleans Saints, going up against the Green Bay Packers in week number 1 with a 24% ownership percentage on Yahoo.com. Now, there has been tons of hype out of training camp that Tony Jones Jr. is going to take Latavius Murray's job and for him to become the running back 2 in New Orleans. There was a lot of talk about Latavius Murray potentially getting cut from the team, not making the roster, which to me was shocking, but that was coming out from a lot of reputable news sources, so I started to believe it. I was like, oh shit, maybe Latavius Murray is going to get cut. That's going to be a great add to whatever team ends up being able to add Latavius Murray because he's still a solid running back, but then none of that ends up happening. It appears that Latavius Murray is the running back 2 here, and that maybe that Tony Jones hype was for nothing. If Kamara was to go down and Latavius Murray is the number 2 running back, you can legitimately expect top 5 weeks from Latavius Murray at the running back position. He did it in the past when Alvin Kamara got hurt because of how good of a team the New Orleans Saints are. Even without Michael Thomas, if Latavius Murray was the starting running back of this team, I have no doubt that this guy wouldn't be a smash matchup week in and week out for the New Orleans Saints. With Alvin Kamara healthy, Latavius Murray is a hard start, right? It's going to be very hard for you to find a situation where you want to start Latavius Murray, but week 1 on the waiver wire, you're not really looking to pick up any of these running backs and throw them into your lineup unless you got the worst injuries ever. Like you drafted Cam Akers, like you drafted 2 months ago, you got Cam Akers on your team, you got J.K. Dobbins, your 3rd string running back is Travis Etienne. Then maybe you're looking to start Latavius Murray, but otherwise a lot of these running backs are guys that you're just stashing on your bench. Next up, we got Wayne Gallman of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Eagles in week number 1, 4% rostership percentage for Wayne Gallman, which is very interesting because I like Mike Davis a lot. I think Mike Davis has the potential to be a top 12 running back, but a lot of people are the opposite of me. They believe that Mike Davis isn't very good, and they thought that maybe Quadri Allison was going to eat into Mike Davis's touches, but the Falcons ended up cutting Quadri Allison, and Allison appeared to be the clear running back number 2 on this team as there was a lot of hype coming his way in the summer. This is a clear situation where Wayne Gallman is the running back number 2 on the Atlanta Falcons, and if Davis isn't able to live up to the expectations that I have put on him as the clear workhorse running back in Atlanta, then Wayne Gallman may kind of etch himself a role into this offense. And if Mike Davis was to go down, we saw it last year with Wayne Gallman when Saquon Barkley went down, that he was a solid running back week in and week out, and that could be the case here in Atlanta, so he's certainly worthy of an add. Next up at number 5, we have Tevin Coleman, running back of the New York Football Jets, going up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina, 21% rostered. Now, this is going to be a Sam Darnold revenge game up against the New York Jets, and while I don't like Tevin Coleman, while I believe that Michael Carter is by far and away the most talented running back on this Jets team, it's going to take him a while to carve out the role. He's clearly behind Tevin Coleman. He's clearly behind Ty Johnson at this time. I don't think he's behind LaMichael P. Ryan because LaMichael P. Ryan isn't very good at all. But this is a running back by committee in New York with the Jets. And to start the season, I think Tevin Coleman will get the nod to be the lead guy. He does have a lot of receiving potential as he's done it in his career in the past. So I think you could do a lot worse than adding Tevin Coleman. But I do really believe that eventually Michael Carter will take a stranglehold of this backfield. Next up, we got Giovanni Bernard, running back of the Tennessee Titans, going up against the Dallas Cowboys, 31% roster percentage right now. Now, Giovanni Bernard was a running back that I was starting to get a little bit more cautious of deeper down in the draft season because it appeared that Giovanni Bernard may be missing some time with an ankle sprain. But now all signs are pointing towards the fact that he's going to be good to go week number 1 up against the Dallas Cowboys. He was dealing with the mild ankle sprain, but it seems like he's going to be perfectly fine for week number 1. Giovanni Bernard played in all third down snaps with the starters in preseason. While I like Ronald Jones, while I see the potential of Leonard Fournette, Giovanni Bernard may be in this quote-unquote, what a lot of people akin him to, is he's the James White of Tampa Bay. If you guys remember, in New England, Mr. Tom Brady, back when he was on the Patriots, loved dumping the ball off to Mr. James White. Maybe we see that situation in Tampa Bay with Giovanni Bernard. I'm not 100% sure that's going to be the case, but he is certainly worth an add based upon that upside. Next up, we have the wide receiver position. But before we get into that, I'd like to ask again, if you guys have ended up enjoying thus far, to please make sure that you hit that like button down below, as well as hitting that subscribe button down below if you are new. Back into it, we got the wide receiver position here. My first wide receiver to be talking about in today's waiver wire ad video is Jacoby Myers of the New England Patriots, going up against the Miami Dolphins in New England this week. 53% roster percentage on Jakobi Meyers. Now, Jakobi Meyers, down the stretch of the offseason, he was a guy that I started banging the drum for aggressively. I started standing here, reality sitting here in this chair, and telling you guys how much I like Jakobi Meyers because of the upside he had with Cam Newton. And then Cam Newton ended up getting cut, and then I had an epiphany that, holy shit, this is probably better that Cam Newton is gone, because now this is an offense that is going to be throwing the ball more than they would with Cam Newton. And it appears that Jakobi Meyers has a very good chance, or right now is the clear number one wide receiver in New England. I like Nelson Aguilar. I like the upside that Nelson Aguilar could kind of possess in this offense, but my best bet on who the clear wide receiver number one in targets on this team is in New England would be Jakobi Meyers. Going up against the Dolphins week 1 makes me a bit squeamish because the Dolphins have a very good defense. I expect this not to be an ultra high scoring game, but on the season as a whole, I definitely think Jakobi Meyers is worth the ad. Next up, we got Russell Gage of the Atlanta Falcons going up against the Philadelphia Eagles in week 1 with a 27% rostership percentage. So Russell Gage is one of those wide receivers that I've been talking about for months, as I love this guy as a late round draft target. It appears that not everyone got the fucking memo that some random guy on YouTube was talking him up, because I believe he's the clear wide receiver number 2 in Atlanta. He did pretty well in that role last year when Julio Jones ended up getting hurt, and versus the Philadelphia Eagles seems to be a smash matchup for all sides of the ball. I like the whole Philadelphia Eagles team. I am very much not in favor of drafting Miles Sanders, but I believe this is an excellent matchup for Miles Sanders to succeed up against the garbage-ass Atlanta Falcons defense. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Devontae Smith. On the other side of the ball, I like Calvin Ridley. I like Kyle Pitts, and I like Russell Gage. I like Mike Davis in this game because I expect this game to be a certified barn burner, a very high-scoring game in Atlanta, and I think Russell Gage will be a big part of that. Next up, we got Cole Beasley, wide receiver of the Buffalo Bills, going up against the Pittsburgh Steelers. 45% ownership percentage for Cole Beasley. Cole Beasley is far from a sexy name in fantasy football. Right, for years past in Dallas, he was basically a no one. You drafted him in drafts and you were severely disappointed. Last year you drafted Cole Beasley and you were so excited because he actually ended up paying off for once in fantasy football. Last year he averaged 7.1 targets per game with 5.5 receptions per game. Again, Cole Beasley's never one of those wide receivers that's going to go out there and just win you your week. It's very unlikely that Beasley's going to drop 25, 30, 35 points, something crazy where he just stomps on your opponent. But there is a good shot that Cole Beasley is a reliable flex week in and week out with the upside of being a wide receiver 2 that you can find off the waiver wire right now. So I think Cole Beasley is a very interesting ad. Next up, we have a much less safe option, but a higher upside option in my opinion, with Bryan Edwards of the Las Vegas Raiders going up against the Baltimore Ravens in week number 1. 13% roster percentage for Bryan Edwards. While I honestly didn't believe in Bryan Edwards all offseason, they were comparing him. Now, I'm not going to get the example correct, but they were talking about how this guy is like a combination of multiple Hall of Fame receivers. I don't get that, but that's what they were saying. And I was like, you know what? John Brown's clearly going to be the guy there, right? I don't believe in all these other wide receivers. I don't believe in Henry Ruggs. I don't believe in the Hunter Renfrow. Like, I don't believe in these motherfuckers. I think it's John Brown's season. But then they ended up cutting John Brown. So the odds that Bryan Edwards becomes the lead receiver there is a lot higher. Now, he's not going to be the lead receiver in targets on the team because, well, maybe at the wide receiver position, but I'm talking about as a whole because the lead target on this team is clearly Darren Waller. But at the end of the day, he's only 13% rostered right now on Yahoo, so you might as well say fuck it and pick him up and hope that he becomes the wide receiver number 1 in Viva Las Vegas. Next up, we have Tyrell Williams, wide receiver of the Detroit Lions, going up against the San Francisco 49ers in week number 1, 31% roster. This matchup is an instant just run away from it, right? There is no reason to play Tyrell Williams week 1 up against the San Francisco 49ers, but there is good reason to stash him on your bench because he's expected to return this week from his groin injury. While it's pretty unclear right now who the true wide receiver number 1 is in Detroit, my best bet would be with Tyrell Williams. Next up, we have Elijah Moore, wide receiver of the New York Football Jets, going up against the Carolina Panthers in Carolina, 40% roster for Elijah Moore. Now, we should see Elijah Moore actually play in this game. It seems very clear that Elijah Moore is not going to be the wide receiver 1 of this team in targets, at least to start the season, because while Elijah Moore was missing time with injury, Corey Davis was sucking in targets like he's fucking Kirby. He was just devouring the targets in this offense with Zach Wilson under center. So it's clear that Davis is the lead receiver. But could Elijah Moore eventually surpass him? Maybe. But this is not the old Jets. This is not the Adam Gase Jets. This is not the Sam Darnold Jets. I'm not going to actually make fun of Sam Darnold because I honestly don't believe it was his fault that that team was a complete and utter dumpster fire. I'm going to point a lot of the blame onto Adam Gase, but it's not that team anymore. This is Saleh. This is Wilson. This is a team that I believe has started to turn it all around. So I believe that Elijah Moore will be on the up and up this season. Week number 1, I would kind of pump the brakes a little bit, but on the season as a whole, I think Elijah Moore is definitely worth the stash. Final position to be talking about in today's video is the tight ends. If you guys are looking for my quarterback streaming video, that will be available on Awesemo Fantasy Football, the YouTube channel. I work at Awesemo. They're great people over there, so please make sure that you check them out later in the day. There will be a streaming quarterback video if you want the information on the quarterbacks. I also wrote an article about it on awesemo.com. I'll make sure to link that down below in the description. The first tight end to be discussing here is Gerald Everett of the Seattle Seahawks going up against the Indianapolis Colts in Indy. Now, he is a 68% rostered, 1% off of being very nice with 69. So obviously, he's not going to be available in a lot of leagues, but he's by far and away the best tight end that I've seen available on the waiver wire in my leagues. It's a decent matchup up against the Colts. It's nothing to salivate over, but moving to Seattle makes him the clear tight end number 1 on this team. He was previously on the LA Rams. His stats in his career really aren't going to make you excited to pick up Gerald Everett, but I believe as the clear tight end number 1 in Seattle, that certainly comes with some value. Next up, we got Jared Cook of the LA Chargers going up against the Washington football team in Washington. 27% rostership percentage for Jared Cook. I apologize. In this video, I wrote rostered down. I used to always call it ownership percentage. I will also call it rostership percentage. I'm a fucking idiot. I guess I don't know how to read, so it is what it is. If I say the wrong thing throughout the video, I do apologize for that. So the reason why I like Jared Cook is not because of the matchup for week number 1, because the Washington football team defense looks to be pretty good. I expect the Washington football team defense to play pretty well in this matchup, but on the season as a whole, people are just severely underrating the upside Jared Cook has as the tight end number 1 in this offense. Justin Herbert, the pervert, did throw the ball a decent amount to the tight end position last year with Hunter Henry, so I think that Jared Cook fills that void relatively in LA with the Chargers. Final tight end here. This is for the deep leagues. This is when you are really scavenging for a tight end to start. Blake Jarwin of the Dallas Cowboys going up against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers on Thursday Night Football. 18% rostered, which is surprising to me. More of a deeper league ad, like I said. While Dalton Schultz looked good in relief of Blake Jarwin last year, it appeared to me that Jarwin was the much more talented tight end, and if this team has to throw the ball as much as I believe they will, with the injuries to the offensive line for week number 1, with them missing key pieces to the offensive line, they're going to have to throw the ball, and you could do a lot worse than Blake Jarwin off the waiver wire of the Dallas Cowboys. So thank you guys all so much for watching. Let me know down below in the description if you have some other waiver wire ads that you want to talk about. We could always... I hope you guys did end up enjoying this video, and if you did, please make sure you hit that like button, make sure you hit that subscribe button as well. I love you guys all so much. Videos every single day for week 1 all the way through week 17, week 18. There's 18 weeks now in the NFL season. I'm gonna be pumping out content every single day. I love you guys so much. Thank you for all the support you have shown us recently. If you guys want to go ahead and watch the video from earlier today, I talk about my week 1 defenses to stream for fantasy football in 2021. I try to keep these videos relatively short. So again, if you have other players you want to talk about, please just leave their name in the description and I'll give you guys kind of my thoughts on those players. So thank you guys for watching. I love you guys all. Stay safe as always. Good boy.